Will the world be facing a global internet outage on the 16th of January? It all started with a clip from the iconic TV show The Simpsons. The clip shows a character which appears to be US President-elect Donald Trump and the words "No Internet" on 16 January 2025.
Behind the humor and unusual family adventures of The Simpsons lies their mysterious ability to predict what will happen in real life. And this has left the world in complete shock time and time again. From foreseeing the 2020 pandemic to political landmarks like Kamala Harris's historic role, The Simpsons have an unparalleled level of foresight. Now, as January 2025 unfolds, prepare to hear everything the show has predicted for the month. The LA fire. The Los Angeles fires in January 2025 sparked some intrigue online.
Devastating fires that have taken such a toll across Los Angeles,
with some pointing to The Simpsons as having foreseen this disaster. A TikTok user shared a clip from season 18, episode 12, titled "Little Big Girl," where Springfield faces a massive wildfire. In the episode, Bart's prank unintentionally triggers a fire that spirals out of control, threatening homes and lives. The uncanny resemblance between the animated scenes and real-life events has fueled conspiracy theories. The current LA's ferocious wildfires have seen an area about 3 times the size of Manhattan incinerated. At least 12,000 homes have burned to the ground, and 150,000 people have been evacuated, as entire neighborhoods become smoldering ruins. 25 people have died. 24 more are missing. Estimates suggest the cost of damage and economic losses could reach $250 billion.
Total damage and economic losses are estimated around $250 billion to $275 billion.
Making it the costliest wildfire in U.S. history, mainly due to the flames torching some of the highest value real estate in the country. And it's not over yet. The city is bracing for further destruction, as weather forecasts suggest winds might pick up again. The TikTok user noted parallels like spreading forest fires, destroyed properties, and firefighters' relentless efforts, leaving us wondering if The Simpsons had predicted yet another calamity. But this wildfire is not only peculiar to LA. Over the recent years, there have been catastrophic reports of wildfires across several regions. In 2023, Canada's fire season was record-breaking and shocking. Over the course of a fire season that started early and ended late, blazes have burned an estimated 18.4 million hectares, an area roughly the size of North Dakota. To add context, on average, just 2.5 million hectares burn in Canada each year. While the total number of reported fires was 6,595 by October, with hundreds of fires exceeding 10,000 hectares, which makes them large enough to be considered megafires. These megafires were also unusually widespread this season, charring forests from British Columbia and Alberta in the west to Quebec and the Atlantic provinces in the east to the Northwest Territories and the Yukon in the north. Greece also had devastating blazes in the summer of 2024 that forced mass evacuations and overwhelmed firefighting efforts.
The Greek wildfire rage. The fire came as Greece experiences what has been called the worst heat wave in more than 3 decades.
In Australia, the lingering scars of the 2019-2020 Black Summer fires is still a clear reminder of wildfire destruction. Experts link the growing frequency and intensity of these disasters to rising global temperatures and prolonged droughts. While human activity often sparks these infernos, the deeper issues lie in environmental mismanagement and the global failure to tackle climate change. As The Simpsons warns, the flames of neglect threaten not just our forests, but the very foundation of our future. Now that's grim, but hold on, because the best part is coming up. Spectre of World War. The Simpsons have often played with themes of geopolitical turmoil, weaving them into satirical yet thought-provoking narratives. Take the Spectre of World War III episode, for example. While Homer's frantic drills about impending doom may have seemed exaggerated, but they mirror today's unnerving reality. The global stage in January 2025 is tense, with events proving the show's accurate warnings. The conflict between Russia and Ukraine grinds on, Each day a stark reminder of how fragile peace can be. NATO's support for Ukraine has deepened divisions with Russia, creating a precarious balance that could easily tip into something more catastrophic. Conversations around broader European unrest feel eerily aligned with the scenarios. The South China Sea is still a ticking time bomb. In January 2025, China's aggressive territorial claims over this vital region escalated tensions with its neighbors and drew a firm, militarized response from the United States and its allies. Taiwan remains the most critical flashpoint. Its strategic importance to global trade and military logistics.
Taiwan's record military budget will be spent on personnel and logistics,
Turning it into a potential ignition site for a devastating conflict. The fear of confrontation grows as naval drills and close military encounters become more frequent, hinting at how quickly diplomacy could crumble into warfare. In the Middle East and Africa, the specter of conflict is equally dire. Proxy wars rage unchecked, worsened by sectarian divides and battles over dwindling resources. Nations vie for dominance while external powers use these regions as chessboards for influence. The consequences are devastating. Civilian populations are trapped in cycles of violence, poverty, and displacement. With resources becoming scarce, the likelihood of direct military intervention increases, pulling more actors into an already volatile situation. The Simpsons once portrayed war as a distant absurdity in episodes filled with humor and exaggeration. Today, those predictions strike an unsettling chord. The convergence of these global crises paints a chilling picture. War is no longer speculative fiction. It looms as an imminent and terrifying possibility, a warning of the fragile line between peace and chaos. The cost of ignoring these escalating threats could be catastrophic for everyone. By drawing parallels to past predictions, the line between satire and reality feels blurred. Are we unwittingly living the script, or are these just clever coincidences? Either way, it's food for thought. Suppression of green energy. Lisa's solar-powered car, a clever invention in the 582nd episode of The Simpsons, competes in the alternative energy derby. Just as victory seems inevitable, the Duff blimp drifts overhead, casting a shadow that halts her vehicle mere inches from the finish line. Strange timing, isn't it? Does this storyline hint at more than just clever animation? Could it be a sharp commentary on how big corporations sometimes undercut green energy progress? The blimp's interference mirrors real-world scenarios where powerful industries resist change to maintain profit margins, even at the cost of environmental advancements. For years, renewable energy solutions like solar and wind have faced challenges that aren't purely technical.
The amount of renewable energy curtailed, most of it solar, has skyrocketed.
Sometimes the barriers are a deliberate tactic to slow the shift away from fossil fuels. While humorous, The Simpsons delivers a stark commentary on the roadblocks renewable energy advocates face today. The narrative aligns disturbingly well with real-world challenges. Despite breakthroughs in renewable technologies, entrenched interests in the fossil fuel industry work persistently to slow progress. Let's talk about policy influence for a minute. Major oil and gas corporations have spent billions lobbying against renewable-friendly policies. In 2023 alone, fossil fuel companies allocated over $100 million to U.S. political campaigns to ensure the status quo. This influence has led to weakened climate legislation and delayed green energy initiatives globally. Market dynamics also tell a troubling story. Fossil fuel subsidies dwarf those for renewables, with $7 trillion spent worldwide on fossil fuel support in 2022 compared to $1 trillion on clean energy. This financial imbalance skews the energy market, stifling competition and discouraging widespread adoption of sustainable alternatives. Then there's misinformation. Industries reliant on traditional energy have launched campaigns spreading exaggerated fears about renewable costs and reliability. These narratives create hesitation among policymakers and sow doubt among the public, hampering collective action. Still, the tide is shifting. The cost of solar panels has dropped by over 80% in the past decade, while wind energy is becoming a cornerstone of many national grids. Grassroots movements and agreements like the Paris Climate Accord keep hope alive. Yet, As The Simpsons suggests, the shadow of resistance is real and dangerous. Global internet shutdown. This next prediction is actually a chilling claim that has gone viral, asserting that it predicted a catastrophic global internet shutdown on January 16, 2025.
A global internet shutdown will occur on 16th of January 2025, a scenario purportedly predicted by the iconic animated series The Simpsons.
According to the theory, the cause is not a cyber attack or technical failure, but a massive shark severing undersea internet cables, a horrifyingly plausible scenario given the fragility of global internet infrastructure. Undersea cables, responsible for carrying 99% of international data, are alarmingly vulnerable. In reality, these cables have faced threats before, from fishing trawlers, earthquakes, and even shark bites. In 2015, Google reportedly reinforced some of its cables with Kevlar to mitigate shark damage. The idea of a coordinated failure plunging the world into digital darkness is unsettling, but not far-fetched. But before we dive deeper, let's rewind for a moment. On Friday, July 19, 2024, the global internet suffered its largest crash ever, triggered by an update from cybersecurity firm CrowdStrike. Critical infrastructure across industries was disrupted, leaving social media users to ironically celebrate an early weekend. The fallout, however, was severe for companies like CrowdStrike, whose stock plunged 14%, and Microsoft, which saw a 2.4% drop. This wasn't the first such incident. In October 2021, Facebook faced a 6-hour outage due to a maintenance error, disrupting platforms like Instagram and WhatsApp. Financial losses totaled $47.3 billion in market value, with Mark Zuckerberg personally losing $6 billion. Similarly, in June 2021, Fastly, a key content delivery provider, experienced a 1-hour outage caused by a customer's routine settings change. Major sites like the New York Times and CNN went offline, resulting in an estimated $150 million loss for digital platforms. In 2017, British Airways grounded nearly 1,000 flights after a power surge crippled its systems, stranding 75,000 passengers and costing the airline $102 million. Even tech giants like Google aren't immune. A storage issue in December 2020 caused a 45-minute blackout, affecting Gmail, YouTube, and Google Drive. This brief outage cost $1.7 million in ad revenue. Some outages are more sinister, like the 2016 attack on DIN, a DNS provider. A distributed denial of service attack orchestrated by a botnet of infected IoT devices took down services like Twitter and Netflix, highlighting vulnerabilities in internet infrastructure. These incidents underscore how fragile our digital systems are. Whether due to human error, technical glitches, or malicious attacks, the financial and societal impacts are profound. They remind us that in a hyper-connected world, even brief disruptions can ripple into massive consequences, so hopefully, this Simpsons prediction never comes true. If you think this last one is shocking, well, the most shocking revelation is about to unfold: Mars colonization. In the storyline of the episode titled Megan Chronicles, a Mars colonization project was set for 2026, a notion that seemed far-fetched at the time of its airing, but real-world advancements in space exploration have since brought the idea closer to reality, drawing attention to the show's prescient themes. SpaceX, led by Elon Musk, is at the forefront of making Mars colonization a tangible goal. Musk envisions establishing a sustainable human settlement on Mars, citing its potential as a backup for humanity in the event of catastrophic Earth events. SpaceX's development of the fully reusable Starship, capable of carrying humans and cargo to the Red Planet, has transformed science fiction into actionable science. The company aims to conduct its first crewed mission to Mars in the late 2020s, aligning eerily with The Simpsons timeline. Meanwhile, other organizations like NASA are actively preparing for human exploration of Mars. NASA's Artemis program is a precursor to Mars missions, focusing on developing life support systems and habitats for long-term use in space. Private ventures such as Mars One, though ultimately unsuccessful, highlighted public interest in interplanetary colonization, echoing the Simpsons' depiction of human ambition.
I have questions about the end of the story of Moses. So, okay, if there is a historical Moses, where is this guy? I mean, where was he buried?
According to the biblical tradition, he ended on the other side of the valley.
And he dies where?
At Mount Nebo.
The fact that a man like Moses, who holds significance in not just Christianity but other religions, died and his burial place was hidden, is a mystery that has puzzled the minds of people for centuries.
What is at this site?
Here at this site, we have the tomb of Moses.
There's a tomb here?
Yeah.
Of Moses?
Yes.
This is why the moment these scientists stumbled upon this 2,000-year-old tomb, many of them were overcome with emotion as they stood in disbelief before the sealed tomb of Moses. But what exactly lies inside this ancient tomb? What secrets have been preserved for millennia, untouched by time? Join us as we look into the mysteries surrounding this extraordinary discovery and whether what they discovered confirms what we already know. Significance of Moses' life. Scientists led by Josh Gates were deeply emotional when they announced what seemed impossible: the discovery of Moses' sealed tomb, untouched for thousands of years. The reason why they went emotional might not really make sense to you until you know the kind of person who Moses was. Before understanding why this discovery affected the scientists so much, it's important to look back at Moses' remarkable life. So let's do that. Moses is a central figure in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, three of the world's largest religions. He was born in ancient Egypt during a time when the pharaoh ordered the death of all newborn Hebrew boys to control their population. In a desperate move, his mother placed him in a basket and sent him down the Nile River, hoping to save his life. Moses was found by Pharaoh's daughter, who adopted him and raised him in the royal palace. But things took an interesting turn from here. Despite growing up with the privileges of royalty, Moses always remembered his Hebrew roots. When he was 40, he killed an Egyptian who was beating a Hebrew slave, forcing him to flee Egypt to avoid punishment. Moses lived quietly in the land of Midian for 40 years, where he married Zipporah, the daughter of a local priest, and worked as a shepherd. However, his life changed dramatically when he encountered a burning bush on Mount Horeb, Mount Sinai, where God spoke to him and told him to return to Egypt to free the Israelites from slavery. Moses returned to Egypt, and with the help of his brother Aaron, demanded that Pharaoh let the Israelites go. When Pharaoh refused, God sent a series of 10 plagues to punish Egypt, from turning the Nile into blood to sending swarms of locusts and covering the land in darkness. The final plague, the death of every firstborn son, including Pharaoh's, finally convinced the Pharaoh to release the Israelites. Before the final plague struck Egypt, Moses gave the Israelites a key instruction: mark their doorposts with lamb's blood. This act would protect them from the angel of death, which would pass over their homes and spare their firstborn children. This act of faith led to the establishment of Passover, a central tradition in Jewish life. When Pharaoh's own son died in the final plague, he finally gave in and allowed the Israelites to leave Egypt. This moment, around 1250 BC, marked the start of the Exodus. Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt toward the Promised Land, but soon after, Pharaoh regretted his decision and sent his army after them. Trapped between the Red Sea and Pharaoh's forces, the Israelites were desperate, but once again, God intervened. Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the waters parted, creating a path for the Israelites to escape. As they crossed to safety, the waters closed in on the Egyptian army, drowning them and securing the Israelites' freedom. With Egypt behind them, Moses led the Israelites through the harsh desert. Their journey was long and difficult. At Mount Sinai, God gave Moses the 10 Commandments, which became the foundation of Jewish law. Despite these divine signs, the Israelites often struggled with faith and disobedience, resulting in 40 years of wandering in the desert. During this time, Moses continued to guide them, settling disputes and teaching them God's laws. Miracles followed, like manna from heaven to feed them and water drawn from a rock. As the 40 years drew to a close, Moses was allowed to see the promised land from the top of Mount Nebo. However, because of a previous act of disobedience at the waters of Meribah, Moses was not allowed to enter. All of these backstories should now help you understand why his place of burial is hidden in such a deep mystery. So let's look at how the tomb was discovered. Discovering the tomb. According to the Bible, Moses died on Mount Nebo, and God buried him in a secret place around 1271 BC. The mystery of Moses' burial has intrigued people for centuries because of his importance, as we have already talked about. And if a reader of the first 4 books of the Torah still has any doubts about Moses' paramount importance to Israel's history, the book of Deuteronomy makes it undeniably clear. Now, fast forward to the present. Josh Gates and his team may have discovered Moses' long-lost tomb. One site of particular interest is Nabi Musa, nestled in the Judean desert near the Dead Sea. For centuries, this site has held religious significance, especially in Islamic tradition, where Moses, known as Musa in Arabic, is revered as a prophet. Muslims believe Nabi Musa to be his final resting place. The site has deep connections to Moses, who is mentioned more times in the Quran than any other prophet. His story in Islam shares many similarities with the biblical account: his birth, his escape from Pharaoh's decree, and his role in leading the Israelites out of Egypt.
You shall see hail fall from a clear sky and burn as fire upon the ground.
The Nabi Musa site became a place of religious importance around 1269 AD, and ever since, it has been associated with Moses' final chapter in Islamic tradition.
Then in the distance you see Nabi Musa.
Nabi Musa.
Nabi Musa is a mosque which is 700 years old. It's kind of fortified to keep from intruders from coming in.
The connection between this sacred site and the biblical Moses continues to captivate scholars and believers alike. During the Mamluk Sultanate, Sultan Baybars established the shrine and mosque at Nabi Musa to honor the prophet Moses. This act was more than just a sign of respect. It cemented the site's importance in Islamic tradition. The construction of the shrine initiated a centuries-old pilgrimage tradition, a practice that continues to this day. One of the most significant events tied to the site is the annual Nabi Musa festival, a pilgrimage from Jerusalem to the shrine. The festival is traditionally linked to the celebration of Laylat al-Miraj, commemorating the Prophet Muhammad's night journey and ascension to heaven. This vibrant festival demonstrates the lasting legacy of Moses in Islamic thought, as pilgrims honor his life by visiting this sacred place. Nabi Musa is not just a historical site, as we can see, but it is a physical and spiritual link to the story of Moses. Architecturally, it reflects the medieval Islamic style, featuring a mosque, shrine, and accommodations for pilgrims, all preserved and restored over the centuries. The shrine itself is simple but majestic, offering a quiet space for reflection amid the stark desert landscape, which only adds to its mystical aura. But is Nabi Musa really Moses' final resting place? Other sites, such as Jebel Harun, also claim to hold this honor. Located near Petra in modern-day Jordan, Jebel Harun is believed to be the burial place of Moses' brother Aaron. Some suggest that Moses himself could be buried nearby, making this mountain a site of great religious and historical significance. Jebel Harun, or Aaron's Mountain, rises 4,500 feet above sea level, towering over the Petra region. This site has drawn pilgrims for centuries, attracting Jews, Christians, and Muslims, each with their own traditions tied to the sacred peak. At the summit stands a white-domed mosque built in the 14th century, marking Aaron's believed resting place. The journey to the top is challenging and requires stamina, but for those who reach it, the reward is more than the stunning views of the Petra landscape. It's the profound sense of spiritual connection to a place of deep historical and religious importance. The mosque on Jebel Harun, with its simple yet striking white dome, marks the spot where Aaron, the brother of Moses, is believed to be buried. The modest structure consists of a single room and a small courtyard, but its religious significance far outweighs its size. Jebel Harun is revered in Jewish, Christian, and Muslim traditions as Aaron's resting place. According to the Torah, Aaron died and was buried at a location referred to as Mount Hor, or Mosera, though interpretations vary. The Jewish historian Josephus, in the 1st century AD, identified the mountain near Petra as Mount Hor, the site of Aaron's death. This belief was later embraced by Christians, who built a Byzantine monastery there, establishing it as a pilgrimage destination. In Islamic tradition, Aaron, known as Harun, is also highly revered. He is acknowledged in the Quran as a prophet who aided his brother Musa, Moses, in leading the Israelites. The current mosque, built during the Mamluk era in the early 14th century, stands atop the mountain as a sacred place for Muslims. However, long before the mosque, a Christian monastery stood here, offering refuge for travelers and pilgrims. Today, the ruins of that monastery can still be seen near the peak, a testament to the mountain's long history as a holy site. The interior of the mosque is simple, with a small room beneath the dome serving as a shrine to Aaron. An inscription above the door notes the mosque's last renovation in 1320 AD, maintaining the modest charm that invites visitors to reflect on the site's spiritual importance. Another significant location often associated with Moses is Mount Nebo, widely regarded as his final resting place. Mount Nebo, located in Jordan and rising about 2,300 feet above sea level, is rich with biblical history. According to the Bible, it was from this mountain that Moses was granted a view of the promised land, though he would not enter it. Instead, it is said that Moses died on Mount Nebo, with his burial site left a mystery. From the summit of Mount Nebo, one can take in breathtaking views of the Jordan River Valley, with the West Bank and, on clear days, even the city of Jerusalem visible in the distance. This panorama offers a sense of what Moses might have seen during his final moments. Over the centuries, Mount Nebo has remained a destination for pilgrims, adding to its deep religious and historical significance. Nearby lies the ancient town of Nebo, further enriching the site's sacred legacy. Mount Nebo's significance is made clearer in the book of Deuteronomy, as mentioned before, where it is described that Moses ascended the mountain, viewed the promised land of Canaan, and then passed away, leaving behind a legacy that would echo through millennia. To commemorate this sacred moment, a Christian church was built at the summit during the Byzantine era. Discovered during explorations in the 1930s, the site revealed a rich history beneath its soil. The church, originally constructed in the 4th century in the typical basilica pattern, was expanded in the 6th century. 6 tombs, carved into the rock beneath the church's mosaic floor, added to the site's enigma. Mount Nebo's enduring importance was highlighted in 2000 when Pope John Paul II visited the summit during his pilgrimage to the Holy Land. He planted an olive tree next to the Byzantine chapel, symbolizing peace and reflecting the mountain's spiritual history. 9 years later, Pope Benedict XVI followed suit, delivering a speech and admiring the same landscape that Moses might have seen. A modern addition to the site is a striking serpentine cross sculpture created by Italian artist Gian Paolo Fantoni. This artwork symbolizes both the bronze serpent invoked by Moses in the wilderness and the cross of Jesus, blending 2 powerful symbols of faith and redemption.